Woochit.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you for availing me with the opportunity to deliver my first speech to this National Assembly in the context of the 2020-2021 budget. My thanks also go to all those who have chosen to vote for the Labour Party, and in particular, those of my constituency number 5, Pamplemousses and Priorité, who have placed their trust and confidence in me. I hereby extend my respectful thanks and appreciation to all the frontliners involved in the fight against coronavirus. The behavior of the population throughout the current crisis is remarkable. I would also like to express my deepest sympathy to the bereaved families. For my first budget speech, I will mainly focus on the importance of local government as a means to improve the quality of life of our citizens and the contribution of the local authorities in the development of our country. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, which represents a serious threat to the sustainability of our economy and the life of our people, it is of utmost importance that this proposed budget must aim at securing the life of the people first. As rightly stated in the introductory line of this budget, I quote, "At a time of unprecedented crisis, our daily life would be put on hold. Finally, deep contraction globally and locally is unfolding before our eyes." Unquote. According to these important observations, we can easily conclude that although the Bank of Mauritius has pumped in billions of rupees in this budget, there is no room for extravaganza. Every action, every rupees must be justified for the good cause of the people and the country at large. Agreed. Some investments and measures are very important, such as in the sectors of agriculture, health, and education. Still, the budget must focus on essential sectors that would help and alleviate the worries and the pain of the people. What can be regulated must be set aside. Projects like extension of metro, new roads, pharmaceutical park, investment in Africa, construction of dam, and other similar projects must not be the priority now. We all agree that our country is experiencing a chaotic economic and social problems. Many people will not be able to meet both ends due to inflation. Life is bound to be miserable. We can foresee and observe of many problems which has already given sign of. No jobs means no income, and no income leads to family and social unrest. This situation will further widen the gap between the rich and the poor, and accentuate poverty and leads to some people to act against the public order by indulging into unlawful activities such as robbery, drug trafficking, and others. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am very much concerned about the future of our nation. I seize the opportunity in this August Assembly to propose that all mega and prestigious projects on which billions of rupees have been earmarked to spend to be put on hold. We do agree that projects that will generate employment and revenue should be maintained. For example, ports, air cargo, and local authorities. In this economic crisis, every citizen of our nation has to make immense sacrifice, and I believe it would be appropriate for this government to send the right signal by curtailing expenses in those projects that are not essential in this period of austerity. Mr. Speaker, sir, the expectations of the public at large has remained unattended as of now, as the government budget does not make any specific reference to the Ministry of Local Government, which is as important as any other ministries. Service to the community is an essential factor to promote development at large. The local authorities, since their establishment, have played a prominent role in the social and economic development of the community. The local authorities made their commitments because the source of income was different from what it is today. We are all aware that each year, government undertakes major infrastructural projects which are then vested to local authorities for maintenance. In addition, with the mushrooming of more settlement, markets, traffic centers, new roads, drains, sport facilities, incinerators, street lighting, additional responsibilities have now been entrusted to the local authorities, which is already a heavy toll. In spite of these, the Honorable Minister of Finance has reduced the granting aid of local authorities by 11%. In this context, how can we expect to improve the services offered by the local authorities to our citizens? In addition, for certain types of application, fees for building and land use permits will be waived, thus leading to further loss of revenue for local authorities. In the same line, Mr. Speaker, sir, I have noted that several businesses are operating without a proper license. Applicants register their businesses activities with the register of companies and start operating with their business cards, thus flouting planning requirements in as much as the verification process by the local authorities is done at a later stage. This state of affairs amounts to putting the cart before the horse and often create nuisance to the environment. Several such matters end up in court, thus causing prejudice to aggrieved citizens who lose their time and money. This situation calls for an urgent attention to the Ministry of Local Government. Mr. Speaker, sir, in this difficult moment where our organizations need to be more efficient, I am suggesting the following measures to be taken into consideration just to reduce the operating cost of our local authorities. First, the roadworks system should be reviewed. Instead of contracting out all the roadworks, the local authorities should purchase their own equipment such as toy sprayer, paver, roller, and asphalt cutter to enable touring of all non-classified roads within their jurisdiction. This in-house measure will reduce operational costs and offer a better quality of work, and at the same time will create jobs in our local authorities. Second, on street lighting. I also note that an amount of 12 million rupees has been earmarked for street lighting along motorways. In line with the policy of achieving energy security and sustainability, I refer to paragraph 256. I suggest that the Ministry of Local Government should procure LED lights to ensure quality, uniformity, and to avoid delays in supply. Moreover, purchase in bulk will allow for economies of scale. In addition, we should consider the use of solar energy for street lighting in roads which falls under the jurisdiction of local authorities. This measure can bring about additional consequences savings in the street lighting bill. Moreover, in line with the green energy policy, solar panels should be placed in all local authorities' headquarters, on all public buildings, in particular markets, village council buildings, and schools. Third, it is high time for the local government to be a major partner of the private firm operating at Moshiko's landfill, which is currently generating electricity from waste. Part of its revenue gain could then be offset against the street lighting bills, which is a heavy financial burden to the local authorities. Fourth, scavenging service. Referring to paragraph 247, local authorities will carry out composting of market waste, and the Ministry of Environment will be responsible for segregation of waste at source. The concept of waste sorting between paper, plastic, metal, and green waste is still long overdue. Mauritius lags behind our neighboring countries such as Reunion Island with regard to sorting and recycling of waste. A few months ago, Honorable Kavidas Ramanu stated that his ministry will seek the expertise of Reunion Island on the issue of waste recycling. I understand he has already been to Reunion Island in this context. Whilst I highly appreciate these initiatives, still, the effective implementation of this project will require the collaboration of the local authorities, particularly for the collection of waste. I propose the introduction of waste sorting and recycling to be undertaken by the local authorities so as to apply the 3R system, that is, reduce, reuse, and recycle, as local authorities are also responsible for both the collection and the disposal of waste. We also note that sweeper lorries, which were mentioned in the last budget speech, are still not acquired. As at date, none of the 12 local authorities is equipped with sweeper lorries. Fifth, local authorities should also call upon to assist our local entrepreneurs by reserving a certain number of stalls in the existing and forthcoming market fairs, which are scheduled to be completed during the next financial year. Mr. Speaker, sir, regarding the NDU, it's high time for the government to review the operation of this entity. Despite the ability of fund, the NDU is very often unable to undertake all projects in a timely manner because most of these projects are later given to the local authorities for maintenance purposes. I therefore suggest that part of the funding be directed to local authorities, particularly for community-based projects, while the NDU could focus on the other major projects. Furthermore, to enable better coordination and follow-up of works, I am of the view that the NDU should be under the umbrella of the local government. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Local Government Act of 2011 has been amended in view of postponing the Village Council elections for the year 2020. I was therefore expecting that budgetary provision be made for the organization of the Village Council election. However, it is noted with deep concern that there is no provision in the estimates for such election, which are long overdue. This suggests that the present government gave little importance to such a democratic process. May I understand that this omission is deliberate, that there will be no election? Is this what we call democracy? That of questions rest in the mind of the public. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is also our responsibility to draw the attention of the population regarding these shortcomings and propose measures to be taken to redress the actual situation. It is deplorable that National Pension Fund will be abolished and the Contribution Sociale Généralisée, CSG, will be introduced without the consultation of all parties concerned, that is, employees, employers, and the union. Employees earning above 50,000 rupees will be fixed with an unfair rate of 3% CSG. This measure will impact heavily on the employees' monthly earning. I propose a flat rate to be imposed on all employees without any discrimination between high income and low income group. This CSG should be paid at the age of 60 instead of 65. Mr. Speaker, sir, under construction sector, paragraph 38, the Honorable of Finance mentions that any retention amount will be paid fully within 6 months instead of 12 months. This issue has been addressed by my colleague, Honorable Osman Mohammed. I would, however, stress on the fact that the usual practice is that all major works are covered by a warranty period of 12 months, so that defects that occur within 1 year from the date of handing over of the projects are remedied at the contractor's expense. Reducing retention period by 6 months will automatically reduce the defect liability period. I strongly condemn this measure, which will undermine the quality of future construction works, as it will lead to poor workmanship in the future delivery of projects. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to social housing, in this budget 2020-2021, government announced an exceptional effort to construct 12,000 residential units. Referring to the budget 2018-19, the government committed itself to construct 6,800 residential units. However, as a date, it is unfortunate to notice that merely half of the proposed number has been completed. I therefore believe that this government is incapable of accomplishing the state 12,000 residential unit. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Honorable Minister of Finance has earmarked 8.4 billion rupees under law and order to enhance security. These funds have been earmarked for acquisition of new high-tech equipment, specialized vehicle for Mauritius Police Post, expansion of safe city projects, full-body scanner, and other items so as to prevent illicit activities. The intention seems to be good. Whether this can be translated into reality is a different question. It is not a secret that drug is ravaging our society, especially this young generation. But unfortunately, no provision has been made for detox treatment and rehabilitation of drugs addicts. These victims must be involved in social activities, placed in rehabilitation centers, and we should be able to empower them to reintegrate the society. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the 2019-2020 budget speech, the then Minister of Finance and now Prime Minister came forward with the setting up of the Financial Crime Commission, FCC, which would, among other activities, take over the function of the ICAC, the performance of which we all agree are below expectation. 1 year later, nothing has been done, and this year we again find provision in the budget for the FCC. I would like to draw the attention of the House on the poor performance of the ICAC. Between 2002 and 2019, the success rate of prosecution of ICAC cases concerning the public sector has been only 37%, whereas for the Hong Kong ICAC, the success rate is 81% for the same period. According to the latest Afrobarometer report of 2019, the majority of Mauritians do not trust the ICAC. Hence, it is high time that appropriate measures be taken to redress the situation with a view to fighting corruption efficiently. Mr. Speaker, sir, referring to paragraph 356E, an amount of 15,000 rupees has been allocated to police officers and hospital staff. During this pandemic period, many other stakeholders were committed to fight against this deadly virus. I wonder why the Honorable Minister of Finance did not consider it appropriate to compensate all people involved in the battle for their efforts. It's a general view that firefighters, dock operators, freight and transit operators, drivers, helpers, scavengers, cashiers, security guards, and other related frontliners who have been mobilized during the confinement period should also be allocated the same amount. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Honorable Minister of Finance fails to elaborate on COVID-19 Solidarity Fund regarding plan de soutien. The price structure of fuel has been modified as from 4th April 2020, where 4 rupees on each liter of petrol has been imposed. It is important for the nation to know up to when this price structure will prevail. This leads me to conclude that several items and measures which were announced previously have not been implemented. It is a real disappointment for the nation to witness the repetition of same projects in this budget through different wordings and headings. Mr. Speaker, sir, the following capital projects were mentioned in the previous budget speech: Rivière des Anguilles Dam, Ocean Economy, Blue Economy, Investment in Africa, Côte d'Or City, Côte d'Or Industrial Park, Blackwater at Fort William, Cooperative Seafood Processing Unit at Tamarin, upgrading of Pont Boniquel at Beche-Tombeau, Triolet Sport Complex, 6 football field at Pointe-aux-Sables, Drengborg, Vallée-Pitour, Pamplemousse, Plaine-Bois, Chamarel, new market at Pamplemousses, set up of new renal transport unit at Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital, modern training center for MIDD at Beauvallon, recreation center at Riambel, smart driving license cards, new police station at Phoenix and Triolet, drainage works at Léocé, Thiers-Rouge, medical hub, SMEs bank, bicycle and motorcycle plant, gold refinery industry, fishing port, water supply 24/7, Highland City projects, education, green economy. Mr. Speaker, the list is long. Unfortunately, we fail to understand why so many projects mentioned in the previous budgets have not been realized, especially at a time when there was neither financial nor sanitary problems. There can't be any excuse that can be justified for non-completion of these projects. Do we have to understand now that at this particular moment, when the country is going through a catastrophic situation, as rightly acknowledged in the introductory line of this budget, that the outfall on our economy is without comparison, that our daily life would be put on hold? I highly doubt whether these new projects that have been proposed in this budget can be now realized. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am highly disappointed. Sincerely speaking, this budget does meet the aspiration and the expectation of this profession that is still affected by this pandemic. Poverty, insecurity, and social unrest are curing up at our doorsill. We need to be more human and caring. Please invest where necessary. I make a solemn plea to the Honorable Minister of Finance to review and amend the budget 2020-2021 accordingly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I will request the Deputy Speaker to take the chair.